Greetings, students. Welcome to this edition of the Professor Travel. I am the Professor Travel, wanting to touch base with you about all the different travel opportunities that you have available to you. The goal about the Professor Travel site is to, again, help you to learn a little bit about destinations, to discuss it as a community, to really enjoy and delve into that travel experience, and then really just host and enjoy the experience for everybody else. Today we have a very special guest. But before I go into him really quick, again, we have a variety of different social media outlets for you. You can always go to my website at theprofessortravel.com. You can find us on YouTube at the Professor Travel channel. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Instagram. You can find us on Twitter at theprofessortr1. And then, of course, I am on Blogger at theprofessortravel.blogspot.com. Today, we have a visiting professor with us, Jonny Schnaible. He is one of my colleagues. I've worked with him in the past. Jonny, say hello to your audience here.
Hello, everybody.
Jonny, tell us a little bit about your education, some of the places that you've traveled in the past, so that way people can get a little bit of an idea of some of your credentials.
Sure. Yeah, I got my undergraduate in psychology at Cal State University of Fullerton, and I did my master's in business administration at University of Phoenix. Traveling is the thing my wife and I do. I've traveled since I was very young, and when we got married, we decided instead of having kids, we're just going to travel and see the world. So at least once a year, we try and go see something really unique and very fun. So I've been a lot of places, and there's so many more that I want to go and see.
I totally understand. Once you get the travel bug, it's just really kind of tough to deal with, because
yeah,
I've been traveling now, I want to say, for the last few years, and it just seems like every single year we're getting more and more travel involved in the process of, whether it's pre-planning for vacations or thinking about those bucket list locations that we want to go to. There's just so many places I want to go and deal with.
We actually have a spreadsheet that we work off of. And so if something comes up and there's like a deal through gate one or something like that, we'll check our spreadsheet and go, oh yeah, that's someplace we've always wanted to go. We have them ranked.
That's awesome. No, I'm really in favor of that. And I want to definitely talk to you about the travel planning process in just a couple of minutes. But let's talk really quick about where you decided to go on your more recent vacation and why you decided upon those specific locations that you went to.
So this recent one, we wanted to do that kind of Western Europe location. We did Holland, France, and Belgium, focusing a lot on some of the D-Day beaches and cemeteries, and some of those experiences were really great. We spent 2 weeks in Bruges, which was just an amazing, amazing little town. We got an Airbnb, and one of the things I do, I'm a real estate agent and a photographer, and I love getting up early in the morning and hitting the sites when there's no tourists out there, and I go get some great photos. So it was an amazing trip.
I actually had a recent experience myself that I'm going to share in one of our future blogs, where I actually just went to Venice myself, and I took in St. Mark's Square. And I'm one of these people who gets up in the morning very early when the sun is rising. And for most people, it seems in European locations that they don't really get up very early. The shops don't typically open until about 9 or 10 o'clock.
It's hard to get a cappuccino even in that time of day. It's
impossible. Oh, absolutely, yeah. And I was in St. Mark's Square when maybe there was just like 10 of us there. And that is a place that's normally overrun with tourists. You are practically shoulder to shoulder just trying to get into St. Mark's Basilica and stuff like that. So, I mean, how are the crowd sizes with the different places that you went to?
Bruges was crowded in the day, lots and lots and lots of tourists. In the morning, I would see maybe 2 or 3 other photographers and 1 or 2 people on their way to work. But like you mentioned, in Europe, it's a little bit, their time frames are later in the day than us. Americans, we work so many hours, and we're going from before the sun comes up until long after the sun goes down. So it was really neat for me to get up and go experience all those things. And for photographers, they have what they call the magic hour. And that's, about an hour as the sun's coming up, and then also about an hour as the sun's going down. But with no tourists around, and other photographers were always very respectful to stay out of each other's way. And so it was beautiful. But other than that, the crowds, it's becoming easier to travel. And so there are more people as a result. And that's a good and a bad.
Well, we'll get into that in just a couple of minutes. In preparation for this, I do want to know, did you have to, because you're saying it's easier to travel now, did you have to go through any visa process or bring special travel medications or be proactive with any requirements that you needed ahead of time for travel?
No, I didn't need any visas for this trip. I just brought my passport. I did try to go through the global entry, and my wife has one, and we went with my mother and father-in-law as well, and they have global entry. When I was a kid, we were all kids, and I didn't quite make it through the interview process, so I didn't get my global entry card. But what I did do is I downloaded an app called Mobile Passport, and I went through customs in about 5 minutes. I'm not kidding. It's
Wow.
incredibly fast. You fill everything out before you get there. You can use the free version, or you can. And I'm not endorsing these guys because for anything other than it was awesome. You can just. I punched everything in as we were landing. You take a photo of yourself, and you go right through 5 minutes. It was unbelievable.
Wow, that's really huge savings of your time. That's very valuable. So
and I know that you want to get into this later, but as we were going in, we flew in through Dallas, and our leaving flight was late out of Amsterdam, and we had about an hour to clear customs, get our bags, recheck our bags, and catch the flight. And we were literally running through the airport and just went right on the plane. It was like I couldn't even stop for a beer, which was sad.
it's actually funny. I have a really. I'm gonna go off on a tangent here for just a second. I have a really funny, well, not funny, but kind of an unusual story, specifically about Schiphol Airport. So a couple of years ago, I was flying from Amsterdam to Copenhagen. We were just doing a quick, I think it was a 1 hour flight, and we were on the tarmac, and we ended up sitting on the tarmac for what seemed like a much longer time than normal. And so people started asking the flight attendants, hey, when are we taking off? What's going on? We don't see any of the planes taking off right now. Nobody's moving. And they're just, oh, well, just take it. We're just waiting for, the tower to let us know when to take off and stuff like that. And so 15 minutes goes by, 20 minutes goes by. We're trying to figure out what's going on. So people are on their cell phones all of a sudden. Turns out that there was a Turkish airliner flying into Schiphol that actually lost one of its engines and crashed in a field of tulips outside the area.
Oh my God!
Thankfully, nobody was injured. It was maybe 20 feet off the ground when it hit the ground. I mean, we didn't hear it, we didn't know, but after a short period of time, they let people go back up in the sky. So it was.
Oh my God, that's crazy!
It was insane. And Schiphol's actually a really nice airport. I was there myself.
Dude, Scott, I'm telling you, I was blown away at the efficiency of security, of checking bags. I mean, it was all automated. I haven't been through Schiphol in a long time, and I was just like, wow, you put your bag in, everything was automated. We went through security. We were through it in 30 minutes.
Yeah, I was really impressed. Of all the airports I've been to, that's probably one of the more efficient ones I've been to.
I agree.
So let's move on to a little bit of your pre-vacation stuff. I'm kind of curious about that, and I'm sure my visitors are as well. When you're thinking in terms of your packing options, I know there are some low-cost carriers that are out there, like what used to be WOW Airlines, where you would be charged for bags of a certain size or something like that. Now, you guys were going for how long again?
22 days.
22 days. So that you obviously have to consider your packing options at that point. How efficient would you say you are at packing your bags?
Really good. So one of the things that's really helpful is we get those vacuum compression bags. You just roll them up and it sucks the air out. Mm-hmm. Those were great. Actually overpacked. And one of the things we had an Airbnb in Bruges for 2 weeks. So we were able to do a load of laundry in the middle of the trip. So you can kind of plan, okay, well, I don't need to bring 3 weeks worth of stuff. I know that I'm going to do one load of laundry in there at least. So really I only need about 12 days really. And, let's face it, pair of jeans, you can wear those until they're standing by themselves in the corner. And I often do.
Yeah, well, it's part of
3 pairs of jeans. So as far as preparing, we have hard shell cases that do expand. My wife and I are both shopping junkies, and we have a little scale, and that's really helpful. You hang your bag from the scale, and you can tell. So when we left, it was 36 pounds. When we flew out Amsterdam the night before, we were packing and rearranging because each bag was at 49 pounds, and you can't go over 50. And I'm moving a shirt here and a pair of pants there to try and make them balance out, and it worked. We did really good.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
I'm kind of one of those. I'm in a weird relationship where I'm an underpacker. So it's like maybe I'll be one of these people who just give me a backpack and I'd be fine for like 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks. But my husband, he can go somewhere for like 3 or 4 days, and he wants to have all kinds of options. So he'll want to overpack in a lot of cases. I'm like, no, we don't. We don't need to do that because I want to free up some space in the bags that we do have for souvenirs or artifacts and things like that as we go through this process. So, I mean, I definitely understand exactly what you're saying. Now, you flew out, did you fly out of initially Sky Harbor Airport?
Yeah, Sky Harbor through Dallas Fort Worth.
Okay. And what was the parking situation like? Did you get an Uber to go there? Did you park at the airport? How would that go?
We had a friend drop us off.
Okay, so it was pretty.
When you're staying for that long, you don't really want to park. It's going to get expensive. So we try to find a ride. Worst case scenario, I would have done like a Lyft or just call a car, but parking, I think, is getting expensive after 3 weeks.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I know that some airports have long-term, short-term parking. On that recent trip I was talking to you about, where we went to Venice and a few other places, we actually ended up parking in like a nearby hotel close to LAX.
Oh, that's cool.
For us, it was about $250 for a little over 2 weeks. So, I mean, we definitely did some shopping around in order to find some really good prices, but I didn't want to like trouble relatives or do anything like that. So I get what you're saying, but for me at least, I'm far enough away from LAX where it's not conducive to have one of my friends or a relative drop me off there. It's just not convenient. I don't want to bug them at the same time, but you're probably very close to Sky Harbor though.
Well, it was about a 45-minute drive.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So yeah, it's a bit much, but we do it. So like Nicole's parents, we'll take them all the time. They'll take us. We have friends that we share that ride situation with. We're going to Fiji in May.
Oh, wow.
And then fly out of LAX.
Nice.
So that's a bit much to ask somebody to drive us to LA from Phoenix. So I'm gonna need to get that information from you on the cheap parking.
I'll definitely talk to you about that. And by the way, if you guys want to talk to me a little bit more offline about that, we'll chat more. I'll definitely work with you on that. Okay.
Great, thank you.
So talk to me about the flights that you ended up taking. Which air carrier did you end up going through? We
used American Airlines, and it seems, somewhere along the lines, I always get pissed off at one airline or another for whatever reason. They all kind of have their pluses and minuses. And I got to say, American was great this time. I remember being upset with them from something in the past, and they were great. The flight out, they had the little TVs on the back. The flight was great. Everything was pretty much on time except for leaving out of Schiphol. The flight back was great. Everything was very clean. Everybody was very friendly. It worked out really, really good this time.
Did they handle your bags okay throughout the process?
Handled the bags were great. We have the hard shell cases that do expand, and I find those to be the best suitcases I've ever had. Nothing gets broken. We lost one little tiny thin glass bobble along the way back.
Okay. And then what kind of seating did you have on the flights? Was it something more?
It was coach.
It was coach?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So you were definitely looking for more of a bargain.
Yeah, definitely going for the bargain. And one of the things that we do is we have the Bose noise canceling headphones.
Yeah.
Those have been my best friend for traveling because, kids are great. For other people, maybe, I don't know, but I've been on a plane where there's been 3 or 4 of them. They have me triangulated and I just could hear baby screaming the whole flight, and it can be really, really rough. So you put those on, you flip the switch, and it takes away the engine noise. You don't feel like you're going deaf when you get off the plane. I also bring an iPad and I download some movies that are offline. So if there is no in-flight entertainment, I just set my iPad up, and my wife and I can either put one little earplug in, or I have a splitter we can plug in and put our Bose headphones on, because I have a hard time just sitting still. I'm very, antsy, very nervous. And so generally it's going to be, my little trick. So the little 3-ounce travel things you can only bring, right? Yeah. So I've tried various different ones. This time it's like a spray bottle, like, spray water or something. And I fill 4 of them with rum.
Okay.
Yeah, mixed it through. I got them in the approved things. I put them in a clear bag. I put them in my thing. I send them through. Nobody has ever said anything. And so I just get a Coke. I have a nice couple of stiff drinks, and I'm off.
Pretty smooth at that point. Awesome.
Yeah.
When you go, actually, let's rewind for just a second, because I was wondering, when you were over at Sky Harbor, how long did you give yourself before the flight? Like, how was it? 2 hours, 3 hours? What was your time interval?
International, we always do 3 hours. I'm the kind of person I'd rather be 3 hours early than 5 minutes late for just about anything.
Yeah.
So for me to sit at the airport, we usually get something to eat. We'll have a couple of beers, whatever it is, just kind of loosen up and prepare yourself for that flight.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you had a cocktail, because that's a long flight to have to do.
It's a really long flight. And I can't sleep on airplanes. Try as I may, and I've tried all different kinds of sleeping medications, whatever. I might be able to, if I get good and soused, I might be able to get a half an hour of sleep, but I just can't do it. And I'm a fairly big guy. I'm 6 feet, 200 pounds, and 210 after this last trip. So, I just, it's really hard to sit in those really small seats and just sit there for 10, 12 hours,
Well, I mean, I was recently on a flight, as I said, to Venice, and in that one we had kind of what was called a premier class seating, which is not quite business class, but it's not quite coach. It's more kind of in between that.
Gives you a few extra inches, right?
Yeah, and the seats were wider and stuff like that. But I'm going to be honest. I mean, same thing with you. I can't sleep on flights, and even with a nice, comfortable seat, I'm antsy. I need to get up, walk around. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I'm not comfortable with long flights like that, and it doesn't really. I don't find it very conducive for me to be able to sleep.
Like torture.
Yeah, and especially if there's like a lot of light coming into the area, the whole fuselage may be dark because everybody's trying to be as best they can on that. But if there's that one person like 7 seats down that has their window open, oh no, this is terrible.
The light, no.
So it sounds like the seating was okay for you. Were the meals on the flight okay, or?
Actually, I was super impressed. Really good. I mean, like really good meals. I used to order the vegetarian meal. I don't eat meat. So traveling can be quite difficult for me in as far as finding food to eat. Airplane food has always been a struggle. And I used to order the vegetarian meal, and they sucked. They're just awful. And they made it like 2 weeks in advance for the special veggie guy. So I've noticed that they started doing like a meat option, and it's generally a pasta option. Okay. And it's a non-meat thing. So I don't have any gluten things. I'm not weird about what sauces they use. I just can't eat chunks of meat. So I've been going with the pasta option. It was really good. They came by and gave you a little snack afterwards. It was like a little Hot Pocket. The meals were really, really good. I was impressed.
Okay. And now, before you actually, before you got to your first destination, after you landed, did you have to, or I shouldn't say, did you have to, did you pre-arrange any like pre-vacation destination? Like, I have to stay at the airport before I can go to this first destination. Did you have anything like that happen, or were you able to just grab a rental car or get onto it wherever you needed to in order to get to the initial destination?
Yeah, straight through Dallas Fort Worth, straight in the Schiphol, and from there we rented a car.
Okay.
And went to The Hague. And then our destination for the day was Rotterdam. So we spent a couple hours, 2-3 hours in The Hague, and then went to Rotterdam, checked into our hotel, and just kind of tried to, and because I don't sleep on airplanes, so you miss that full night of sleep, right? Yeah. So that night, and now the time change is off, I'm able to sleep really good that first night. And so I don't really experience jet lag there. But, like we talked about the other day, coming home.
Back. Yeah. No, I had just mentioned to you the other day, I'm the exact same way. And I can, I'm fine when I'm at the destination, usually for a little while.
There's that excitement,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The adrenaline's in you. And then heading back home, especially when I'm coming from the east, heading westbound, I take a long time to recover. It's usually like a day for every single day that I'm out. It takes a long time for me to recover. Talk to me about the accommodations. So you get to your initial Airbnb. What did you think of the location?
The location was great. So in Rotterdam, we had a hotel, and we were there for about 3 days, and it was NH hotels, and they were pretty good. No complaints there at all. Just, Europe are a little, people's expectations may be a little high. I try to go in with really low expectations there. That way I'm never disappointed.
That's okay.
So when we got to Bruges, so we went and stayed in Bayeux, which is a little French town, and we did the D-Day beaches and stuff like that. Really super cool. Went to the cemetery. It was really fun. Watched the flag lowering, all that stuff. But then we stayed one night there. Again, just a nice little hotel. They had a pool, hot tub, and a sauna. So that was really great. We made great uses of that. Then we went to Bruges, and we had that Airbnb for 2 weeks. Now, The place was located pretty good. It was about a 10 or 15-minute walk from the main centrum.
Okay.
And but there were some issues. So it turns out the guy's cleaning lady had gone into the hospital. He hired somebody else. She was horrible. There were baby diapers in the trash can. There was, there were a few things. But all in all, it was a pretty nice place. There were stairs that were really steep and curved, and it really took its toll on my knees. So we were on the third floor. My wife and I was just a loft, and then her parents had the second floor. It was a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, which can get tricky for 4 people, but we made it all work. It was great. The location was great. And overall, we had a really splendid time.
Okay, cool. So let's take a little bit of a long-term or long view snapshot of what were all the destinations that were going to be on your itinerary. So from the moment you landed in Schiphol, moving forward, what was your itinerary going to be like over the next couple of weeks?
So it was The Hague, just to spend an afternoon, and we just hit a couple museums there, basically. The girl with the pearl earring, we wanted to see that. So rather than go to a museum and try and do the whole thing, which sometimes we'll do, but depending on the size, like the Rijksmuseum, forget about it. Like, you need a week there alone. So we'll try and hit some of the main attractions, like the girl with the pearl earring is one that we really wanted to see. Then we went to Rotterdam, and we saw the arms, for the flood control. Mm-hmm. Just outside of, we saw that. That was cool. Went into Rotterdam, stayed there, just saw the sights. I can't remember all of the things, but just cruising around, did a couple of tours there. Architecture tour, that's what it was. That was really fun.
Sure.
Then from there, we went to Bayeux, a little town in France, which I was completely enamored with this town. There was castles, which was really an old abbey or church. It was just the quaintest, cobblestone streets. And they had that tapestry. It's this really old, really like huge, long tapestry. And it takes about 20, 30 minutes. And I like art, but I love photography. And I like visiting a little bit more than, say my mother and father-in-law or even my wife. So I kind of bailed out on the tapestry tour and just went and shot. Because I was just like, oh my God, this town is amazing. And it was our only day there. So that was really fun. Also, because I'm a photographer, I have a media pass, so I get into a lot of things free.
Nice.
So I blazed through. I looked at the tapestry and went out. We did the D-Day beaches that next day. Okay. That was really, really fascinating to be in some of those. I mean, we've seen the movies, we've read the history books, we've seen it all, and to kind of be there and see some of that stuff was just awe-inspiring. The cemeteries were amazing.
Yeah.
Then from there, we went to Bruges, and we stayed there for 2 weeks, but we took day trips. So we went to Ghent, which was amazing. We went to Brussels and Antwerp, and we had rented a car in Schiphol and drove and just parked near our flat in Bruges, and we would just go and take those day trips out. Then from there, we went to Amsterdam and basically spent 2 nights there, which really isn't enough to dig into Amsterdam.
Yeah.
And I hadn't been there in a really long time, so I would have loved to spend more time. So we basically ran through there really fast. I did get up early one morning, but Scott, I got to tell you, that place has changed since I was there 25 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Really busy. It was a little sketchy. We were kind of stayed by the red light district. It was a nice hotel, Swiss hotel. But it was just kind of super crowded. Like, we couldn't figure out even how to drive in to drop off the stuff. It was insane. So it would almost been better to just leave the car and maybe take a train or a cab or something, because then we dropped off the luggage, had to find the car park, which had moved. Yeah. We used Sixt Rental, which they were okay, pretty good, but their office had moved and the parking lot had moved. Trying to get around, there was so much construction and so much going on.
Yeah.
It only took an hour, which was great. The guy laughed at me when we checked in. I go, I'm going to take the car back. He's like, okay, I'll see you tomorrow morning. It's that bad. But it was really, all in all, a wonderful trip. One thing I kind of want to note is I talked a little bit about museums and how, some people are more into like just seeing art. And my father-in-law is one of those guys. He loves histories. He loves reading every little thing in the museum. I go nuts. I can't take it. My thing, like what I like to do traveling, and I've done this a lot in the past, is just go find a cool pub somewhere and sit and chat with the owners or the people inside and get some of the culture and experiences. And I learn like, oh, hey, this is a really, really cool thing to do. And you learn from the locals. It's kind of more my speed of travel. And I was able to kind of balance that a little bit with some of the history stuff that we did.
Totally cool. Now, just a really quick question. When you were going to all of these places, did you pre-plan any of these excursions ahead of time, or was it just kind of like a, hey, we're just gonna go by the seat of our pants, and like what level of research versus purchasing did you do ahead of time for those excursions?
It's a really good question, actually. My father-in-law is the planner of planners. He was a CPA, and I think half the fun for him is planning all this stuff out. So we did a tremendous amount of research. We had everything booked out, laid out. You know, we had the time frames that the places were open. We had many options for each excursion that we did. Some things, like we went to Mont Saint Michel on the way back from Bayeux to Bruges. We stopped by Mont Saint Michel, which is amazing abbey there, giant castle in the middle, like right on the ocean.
Nice.
Beautiful. But we pre-bought that ticket because we were told that it can get a little crowded. They might run out. And while we wouldn't have run out, we skipped the line. So anytime you know you're going to be there, buy that ticket, because even if they don't run out, you still get to skip that line of waiting in line, and it's just a little bit easier.
Also, any warnings about to the viewers about people on bicycles in Amsterdam?
Oh my God, yeah. Watch out. It's insane driving in some of these parts like Bruges, Amsterdam. There are trains, bicycles, pedestrians, cars, taxis, everything. But the bicycles are absolutely the worst, because they kind of take the road, and they feel they have the most power, and they really do, because you can't just hit them, you got to stop. So they just barrel right out in front of you. So it's really, really sketchy driving through some of these cities.
Yeah, I've been to Amsterdam a few times. The thing that really struck me, at least, was number one, seeing all of these different like parking lots just for bikes, and they had like hundreds and possibly even thousands of bikes at some of these places. And I'm like, wow, that's a lot of bicycles. But it turns out that most people travel by a bicycle.
Yep.
And from what I was told, they actually do have the right of way, even over pedestrians. If a pedestrian gets in the way and they get knocked down by a person on a bike, it's like, hey, sorry, you were in my way and I couldn't stop. So it's kind of on you at that point. So you really have to be careful about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you can't just walk out into the street. You got to make sure you're looking both ways for bicycles. And there's certain lanes that they ride in. You don't want to walk in the bike lane. They'll get really upset with you.
Yeah, exactly.
And they do have the right of way, and they kind of should have the right of way, because they're moving a little faster and a lot more vulnerable.
Yeah.
So it's up to us to watch out, whether we're walking or driving. We really got to watch out. We did rent bikes one day. It was very, very mellow cruise in Bruges. We just rode bicycles to a town called Dame, and it was about a 20, 30-minute bicycle ride. Super quaint little town. We just rode along the canal and back. Cool windmill on the way, but very safe. Like, I wasn't really sketched out at all. It was really fun.
Oh, that's cool. One of the things, as far as travel tips go, I know that there are people who want that Amsterdam experience, especially when you're there, because it's a lot of hustle and bustle, and they really enjoy it. And some people get hotels directly in and around Amsterdam directly. For me, the last time I was there was about 2.5 years ago. We actually went to an outside city very close to Amsterdam called Oosterdam, which is just across the bay. So we ended up staying at a 5-star hotel, which was the same price of like a 3-star hotel in Amsterdam. And we were just basically, what they would do is they would take us over to the nearby ferry, and it was complimentary. They have rides to the ferry. They shuttle you. You end up at the train station right there in Amsterdam.
Yeah.
And they have different, like every hour on the hour, they'll take you back and forth if you want to do that up to like 7 p.m. And then if you're after 7 p.m., you just end up getting a taxi, and that'll take you around the bay in order to get there. But it's not a huge bay. It's not like an hour drive or anything like that. It's like 20 minutes. So it's not like huge to do. When you were staying at these accommodations that you went to, did any of them include like your breakfast or anything like that?
No. One of them, the one in Bayeux, had breakfast, and it was kind of a typical European breakfast, just some hard-boiled eggs. There were crepes, things that were really good, actually not bad. The one in Rotterdam, we had to pay, was like 17 euro, something like that, 17, 18, but it was amazing, like really good cappuccinos. I mean, all kinds of scrambled eggs, just tons of fruit and pastries. It was amazing. Amsterdam, They had one, but it was like 25 euro, and it just wasn't worth it. And there was a McDonald's right there, and I hate to go to McDonald's when I'm on holiday, but it was right there, and we both ate for like $10.
Although, I'm always curious to go to a McDonald's when I'm in Europe just to see like what's different on the menu there than it is here in the United States. So it gives me a little bit of perspective as to what people are enjoying at different locations and different tastes in reference to their culture as well.
Pretty consistent with those kind of places. Like Hard Rock, we always go to the Hard Rock.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the things. We always try and visit our Hard Rock, and we collect the shot glasses. But their food, they always make sure they have, the local language, English, and like one other language that all the servers speak. And their food is consistent. And I've never really noticed any variation. Their food is always consistent across the board. And that's comforting sometimes.
Nice. Okay. So let's talk about the trip back. So how was your flight back? How was your baggage handled? Were there any problems with customs, anything like that?
So, we did touch a little bit on this. Like I said, Schiphol was amazing, super, super efficient. We got there really early, plenty of time to check in. It was all automated. We didn't require much help at all. You put your bags in this thing, it weighs it, you print out your ticket, you stick it on there, the thing closes and sucks your bag off and to where I don't even know. It was amazing. So we did have time to have a couple of drinks before the flight. Everything super smooth. Then we, it was an hour and a half delayed. So like I said, we had plenty of time. Then we sat on the tarmac for an hour and they didn't even tell us what was going on. I have no idea why we were so late. And we were really worried because we'd had about, I think 2.5 hours or 3 hours, and now we're 2.5 hours delayed. So, but American Airlines was great in this respect because they went ahead and they had already rescheduled our connecting flight for us.
Oh, cool.
And they had a whole bunch of other people that if you're going to Salt Lake City, if you're going to Utah, if you're going here, they had all these signs out and you just grab there was your name with an envelope on it. You grabbed your envelope and moved on. But we were already rescheduled. But like I said, we blew right through customs with that mobile passport app. In like 5 minutes, got our bags. That was probably the longest time, was waiting for our bags, checking the bags in. They were really super efficient in Dallas to get our bags in. And then we literally were hot-footing it, running through the airport. It was funny.
Exercise.
Our security was a little bit long getting through. And there's some guys you got to watch out for that will charge you. Hey, we'll charge you and guarantee we'll make your flight. But it was like $150 for all four of us to skip the line at security. And no way, I'm not paying that. Yeah. There was just no way. I was pretty sure we were going to make it, and we did. But I did see a couple of people fall for it. I don't know. I don't trust those guys. But cleared security. My bag got rerouted over to the search area, and I was like, oh, my God, But the lady's like, oh, I'm sorry. It was a mistake. It just went to the wrong side. Here you go. Go get your flight. Yeah. Everybody was really super cool, really super, but I dress like in pretty much pajamas. So there's no belts. I have kick-on shoes. I try and make it easy on them, and they will in turn try and make it easy on you. If you wear a bunch of stuff you got to take off, and you've got computers and all this crap that they got to go through, it slows everybody down. So I just try and make it as easy as possible.
Absolutely. So let's get into post-vacation thoughts. Okay, so now you're back. What were the pros of going on this specific vacation for you? What were the really good things that you enjoyed?
Man, there's so many things. We got to, for traveling for me is experiencing different cultures and doing my photography and trying different foods. Even though I don't eat meat, I can usually find some really good things. Belgium, I learned a lot about Belgian beer. They have this huge culture surrounding beer. For instance, we stayed in a hotel on a couple of nights just to kind of have some alone time, my wife and I. Mm-hmm. And we checked into the hotel. I just wanted to grab a beer. And while we were kind of changing into our swimsuit and stuff like that, I just wanted to drink a bottle of beer. And so the guy started getting a glass. And I'm like, no glass necessary. And he's like, oh, please, may I give you a glass? And I was like, wow, okay, the service is great. So I had to ask the next day. And they're like, no, we take our beer culture very, very seriously. And they want to pour it in a glass.
It's a whole show almost.
Yeah, it's a whole show. The glass always matches the beer. I've never seen them have it wrong. The only time is when it was just a plain glass because they had run out of that particular brand of glass. So that was amazing, fascinating. There's so much to try and narrow down like any one huge takeaway. Just, I would say, the experience And that's why we do it, is the experience of it all. There was good times, bad times, rough times, tough times, fun times, great times, sleepy times, rush times, stressful times, but that's all part of the experience. And you just have to go through it with a smile, with a good positive attitude, and try and find the fun in every part of it. Even running through the airport thinking I was going to miss my plane, I thought I was on The Amazing Race, and I was just laughing because it was just so funny. But we made it. Everything turned out great. And just the experience of it all is really my best takeaway.
It's so funny because the more you travel, the more you have these really interesting experiences. And sometimes I think I agree with you. I think you just have to kind of laugh sometimes, because it's like some of these things are out of your control.
Yeah.
There's not a lot you can do. What are you going to do? You're going to scream at someone? Don't bother. Yeah. I mean, just relax. Things will work out. You just need to figure it out. Yeah, you may be delayed. There may be some stuff. But if you're proactive enough, if you pre-plan your things in advance, if you have a hotel that maybe you were looking to do an early check-in, now you have to do a later check-in, they're not going to throw you off. They're not going to throw you away. I mean, they don't want to risk a bad rating themselves. Something like that. So.
And that's kind of a cool thing about today's day and age, is that, we're able to leave reviews, and the consumer has a little more power than we had in the past, 10, 15 years ago, when Google reviews and Airbnb reviews and all that stuff really wasn't a thing. And so they didn't really care as much as they do now. But yeah, they're happy to take your bags and set them aside, go grab a beer and something to eat, come back, we'll get you checked in. And, I'm always real nice. Sometimes I'll even tip the check-in guy $5 or $10 and get a nicer room. You never know.
Yeah, exactly. Well, first off, I would like to thank you very much for being part of this wonderful vlog and podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Just so people know, if they want to take a look at your pictures, where's the best way they can look at some of the photographs that you've done and different things that you're trying to promote as well?
So if you Google my name, Jonny Schnaible, it's JonnySchnaible, you'll probably find a lot of stuff there. But on my Instagram page, I devote specifically to travel photography. There are a couple of shots I've done with musicians and just some kind of unique different things, but mostly it's travel. And that's Protography by Jonny Schnaible. So it's like a play on photography. It's protography.
Protography?
Yeah, Protography by Jonny Schnaible, JonnySchnaible.
Awesome. I'm definitely going to go to that. And I recommend that all my people go to that too. You've got some amazing pictures. You've got an amazing eye for photography. So I appreciate you being first off part of this really great project that we're working on. So thank you again for that. Also to my viewers, thank you very much for being part of this as well. If you do have any questions or comments, I'm certainly welcome to those. Let us know. You can send me an email at scott@thetravelprofessor or theprofessortravel.com, or reach me on any part of the social media that we have. Again, I thank you so much for being part of this. And as always, make it a wonderful day.
Cheers.